When I was a little boy, there were a couple of times in my life when I was accused by my own parents of doing things that I hadn't done, and it irritated me. And because there was no recourse when you're dealing with your parents and they're making an accusation like that, and you really don't have any evidence to defend yourself. My parents were generally fair people, but on those couple of occasions, I learned a valuable lesson, and that is the world is not always just. That's why, as a Christian, for instance, you believe the justice will come later, that there's going to be a reward. When I was in third grade, I was once accused by a teacher of doing something that I hadn't done, and my punishment was public and it was very embarrassing. And again, I found no justice in any of that. Over the years, there are jobs I thought I deserved that I didn't get. And even later, when somebody else failed in that position, there was an urge to call and say, I told you so. Serves you right. But I didn't do those things. You let it slide off your back because I suppose I got a few jobs other people felt that they deserved. I have lost a few jobs, been dismissed from a few jobs, and believed at the time it was unjust. But that happens. I have had people at work sometimes do things and then throw me under the bus, and they have fabricated stories in order to do that, in order to get ahead themselves. Hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened. Again, it comes across as unjust. I'm not citing any of these things just because I'm belly aching. I'm telling you, you don't always get what you want in life. I know there are a lot of people who are unhappy that Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States, but it's inevitable. And I've been listening to all of the people who are talking, the legal eagles, if you will. Jonathan Turley this morning, I happened to see Jonathan Turley on Fox and Friends, and Turley said, yes, there are some things that Trump could do in Pennsylvania individually from county to county, but not likely going to end up tipping the state in his favor. You've heard the same thing from Alan Dershowitz, who said Trump has three paths to the presidency still for a second term, but highly unlikely in any of those three. After Tucker Carlson had a bit of a snit last week with Sidney Powell, you had a lot of Trump supporters who were throwing Carlson under the bus, albeit Carlson has perhaps been the most valuable ally of the president in media of any kind, more so even than Rush Limbaugh. But then, as it turns out, Powell was sacked by the Trump team. And last night, Tucker was defending the president again on television last night, despite some of the names he's been called, and pointing out the widespread fraud that likely took place, but just how this was all ginned up against the president anyway by big tech from the very beginning. He had Robert Epstein on as a guest who explains how all of this works. I've heard him before also on Glenn Beck's program. Rush Limbaugh yesterday said that the Trump team had not really come forward with any evidence that is going to overturn this. And so now that Rush has criticized him, does that mean that people who've been browbeating all of us on the local level can stop doing that? After all, whenever I brought this up, I've gotten some nasty emails from people, and I don't think you're playing with reality. I think you've had a break if that's the case. I know it's unjust, but we've all suffered injustice in our lives. What you have to do is you have to regroup and you have to plan. People keep saying, well, this isn't going to work, Bill, because they'll just keep doing the fraud. No, not if we regroup and we figure out a way to stop this, stamp it out from ever happening again. I don't have a solution today. And if you turn to me and say, well, what are we going to do next? I don't know. What are you going to do? I've been hearing a lot of that. Well, what's your plan C if you don't have a plan B, Bill? If your plan B doesn't work out, what's your plan C? I don't know. How about you get off your dead ass and we all work together on this instead of sitting by the side of the road and moping? Because we can. I read yesterday where 4/5 of Republicans believe the election was stolen. That's a huge number. And 2/3 of the voters, a little bit more than 2/3 of voters, Republicans voters, say they would like to see the president come back in 2024 as the nominee. That tells me that there's still a huge amount of support for him. And if we just hold the line and grit our teeth, and the newcomers, the people that he brought into politics, if they don't walk away because they're upset by how distasteful this whole process is, if we can find them and say, look, you got to hunker down here and work with us, we can do this. We can pull it off again. Because I keep telling people, Jimmy Carter never had a second term. You're going to see what one would have looked like over the next 4 years with Joe Biden. And when that happens, people will be clamoring for someone like Donald Trump to come back and rescue us. I got to get to some other work this morning, but I do want to point out I have a radio program You can hear that by tuning in. I'm at News Radio 1310 KLIX in Twin Falls, Idaho. Perhaps we'll have another platform up soon sometime. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But you can hear me online if you're not in southern Idaho at newsradio1310.com. There's a listen live button. There's also an app that you can download, and that's for you from my radio station for your smartphone, so you can listen that way. I do want to point out my name is spelled last name Colley, first name is Bill. And if you're doing a Google search, you'll likely find a lot of dirt about me, no doubt. I've earned all of it.